They say time waits for no one, but what if it could wait for you? What if the steady ticking of your cellular clock could be slowed, even paused, not with medicine or machines, but with nothing more than the power of your mind? Imagine for a moment that age isn't just a number written on your skin, but a story your consciousness is telling your body, and that story can be rewritten. This is where the mystery begins. Hidden deep in the forgotten corners of scientific history lies the work of Jacobo Grinberg, a brilliant Mexican neurophysiologist who dared to ask questions no one else would. While the world searched for external cures to stop aging, Grinberg believed the secret was internal. He proposed something radical, that reality itself isn't fixed, but is created by the brain's interaction with an invisible informational lattice, an energetic field he called the syntergic field. According to him, when your mind becomes deeply coherent and focused, it can reshape how this field responds, not just altering your perception of the world, but the way your cells behave within it. Grinberg didn't form these ideas sitting in a laboratory alone. He ventured into remote villages, living among shamans who performed healing rituals that defied logic. He watched as they healed wounds without tools, calmed fevers without medicine, and radiated a vitality that seemed untouched by age. What he witnessed was so far beyond the boundaries of conventional science that it shook his understanding of what it means to be human. And then, in 1994, on the verge of revealing his most daring discoveries, Jacobo Grinberg disappeared. No warning, no trace, no explanation. Some whisper he was silenced. Others believe he stepped fully into the very field he had devoted his life to studying, leaving our reality behind. But what he left behind is even more astonishing. Journals filled with data, brain scans of synchronized minds, and evidence that when two people meditated together, their brainwaves began to merge even while separated by walls. It was as if their minds were communicating through the lattice itself. Grinberg believed this state of synchronization was the key to a hidden ritual, a practice of pure awareness that could silence mental chaos and bring the brain into perfect coherence. And in that state, something extraordinary appeared to happen inside the body. Stress hormones dropped, immune responses strengthened, cellular repair switched on. The biological signs of aging began to slow, and in some cases reverse. This is the hidden ritual Grinberg hinted at, not a chant, not a potion, but a silent internal alignment that could awaken your body's ability to renew itself from the inside out. In this video, you're going to discover exactly what that ritual is, how it works, and how to begin practicing it yourself. You'll learn how a few minutes of deep awareness each day could influence not just your mind, but your biology, and why mainstream science has quietly ignored this possibility for decades. If you've ever wondered whether aging truly has to be inevitable, if you've ever sensed that there is more to your potential than what you've been told, stay with me until the end. Because what you're about to hear might change the way you see time, health, and even reality itself. Welcome to Awakened Synchronicity, where hidden truths meet open minds. If you're ready to explore the unseen, uncover the forgotten, and awaken the power within you, make sure to subscribe now, and let's step together into the mystery of Jacobo Grinberg. Before we talk about the hidden ritual that could influence the aging of your cells, we need to step into the mind of the man who first dared to imagine it. Jacobo Grinberg wasn't a name splashed across headlines or celebrated on global stages, yet he quietly stood at the edge of a scientific revolution. Born in Mexico City in 1946, he grew up with an unusual sensitivity to the mysteries of the mind. The turning point came early in his life when his mother passed away while he was still a child. That loss planted a question deep inside him. What exactly is consciousness? And where does it go when life ends? It was a question that would never let him go. As he grew older, that curiosity became a calling. He studied psychology at the National Autonomous University of Mexico and later earned a doctorate in psychophysiology from the University of New York. While many of his peers followed predictable paths, Grinberg refused to stay inside the lines of conventional science. He saw something missing, a vast, invisible dimension of human experience that traditional neuroscience simply ignored. For him, the brain wasn't just a biological machine, it was a gateway to something deeper, something that might even shape the very fabric of reality. Unlike most academics, Grinberg didn't confine himself to sterile laboratories and rigid experiments. He sought out the unusual, the unexplained, the mystical. He immersed himself in the study of human perception, asking how the brain constructs reality from the raw chaos of sensation. He believed that perception wasn't just a passive process, but an active act of creation. In his view, what we see, hear, and feel isn't merely received from the outside world, it's woven together by the mind like a living tapestry. This perspective led him far beyond the boundaries of Western science. Grinberg began to visit remote communities across Mexico, seeking out shamans, healers, and indigenous spiritual practitioners whose knowledge had been passed down for centuries. Among them, he met Maria Sabina, the legendary Mazatek shaman, and later Pashita, a healer whose surgical-like rituals were said to defy all logic. Grinberg didn't approach them as a skeptic, looking to debunk their work, nor as a believer hoping to worship it. He came as a scientist determined to understand. What he witnessed in these encounters unsettled everything he thought he knew. He saw healers who appeared to close wounds with their hands, who spoke of merging their minds with forces beyond the physical world. These weren't tricks or illusions. They left behind physical effects that Grinberg attempted to measure with the tools of modern science. He used EEG machines to record brain activity during these rituals, and what he found was extraordinary. The brain waves of shamans entered states of perfect synchronization across both hemispheres, forming patterns unlike anything seen in ordinary mental activity. Driven by these discoveries, Grinberg developed what he called the Syntergic theory. It proposed that all perception and consciousness arise from an interaction between the brain and an invisible pre-space or informational field that underlies reality itself. According to him, when the brain's activity becomes coherent enough, when attention becomes completely unified, it can align with this field and alter how reality unfolds. This wasn't just philosophical speculation for him. He believed this interaction could explain telepathy, psychic phenomena, spontaneous healing, and even the power of ritual to transform the body. As his research advanced, he founded laboratories in Mexico dedicated to the scientific study of consciousness, something almost unheard of at the time. His experiments became increasingly daring. In one, he placed pairs of participants in separate rooms, shielding them from any physical communication. When one participant was exposed to a flash of light, the other's brain showed synchronized responses at the exact same moments, as if their minds were somehow entangled. It was subtle, but it was real, and it pointed toward a hidden web of connection that standard neuroscience could not explain. Yet even as his discoveries deepened, so did the shadows around his life. By the early 1990s, Grinberg was on the brink of something monumental, preparing to publish new data that he believed would prove the existence of this underlying field. And then, in December 1994, everything stopped. Jacobo Grinberg vanished from his home without warning. His wallet, his passport, his clothes, all left behind. There were no signs of struggle, no clues, no farewells. It was as though he had simply stepped out of reality and never returned. To this day, no one knows what truly happened to him. His disappearance remains one of the most unsettling mysteries in modern science. Some whispered he had been silenced because his work threatened to disrupt the boundaries of accepted reality. Others believed he had crossed fully into the very field he had spent his life trying to map. Whatever the truth, J.O. Grinberg's life and his sudden absence left behind a haunting question. What if he was right about the hidden powers locked within the human mind? Aging is something we all accept as inevitable, yet few of us stop to ask what it actually is. Beneath the surface of wrinkles and gray hair, aging is the gradual wearing down of our cells, the tiny engines that power every part of our body. Each time a cell divides, its protective caps, called telomeres, become slightly shorter. Over decades, these telomeres shrink until cells can no longer divide safely. They begin to malfunction, producing more waste than energy, and slowly the body starts to break down. This is cellular aging, not a sudden event, but a slow erosion, cell by cell, moment by moment. But here's something most people don't realize. This process doesn't move at a fixed speed. It can be accelerated or slowed by how we live, and even more strangely, by how we think. Stress, for example, is one of the fastest accelerators of aging. When the brain perceives danger, it floods the body with stress hormones like cortisol. These hormones are useful in short bursts, but when they stay high for months or years, they damage DNA, disrupt cellular repair, and shorten telomeres even faster. The mind's perception of threat becomes a biological attack on the body. And if negative perception can accelerate aging, could the opposite be true? Could a calm, focused, coherent state of mind protect our cells and even reverse the damage? This question lies at the heart of Jacobo Grinberg's most daring work. While most scientists measured aging in purely physical terms, genes, molecules, and chemical reactions, Grinberg believed that perception itself was the hidden driver. He suspected that how the mind organizes experience could change how cells experience time. To understand this, we have to look at one of Grinberg's most radical ideas, the syntergic theory. According to Grinberg, reality as we know it does not exist independently of us. It emerges from an invisible field, a pre-space or informational lattice that contains all possible patterns of reality. The brain, through perception, doesn't just passively receive reality from the outside world. It actively selects, organizes, and projects reality from this field. In other words, your brain is not a mirror reflecting the world, it's a projector shaping it. Grinberg believed that when the brain's electrical activity becomes chaotic, when the mind is scattered by fear, stress, or constant distraction, it distorts its interaction with this informational lattice. The projection becomes noisy, fragmented, unstable. This not only creates psychological stress, but may ripple into the body as biological stress, disturbing the delicate balance of hormones, energy, and cellular repair. In his view, distorted perception leads to a disordered lattice, and this disordered interaction with reality speeds up the aging of the cells living within it. But if a disordered mind can accelerate aging, then a coherent mind might do the opposite. Grinberg proposed that when the brain enters a state of deep focus and harmony, when every part of the mind aligns on a single point of awareness, it creates a clear, powerful interaction with the informational lattice. This, he believed, brings order back to the systems, begin to receive more energy, stress hormones drop, and the body shifts from defense into repair. This state of perfect inner coherence is what Grinberg hinted at when he described the hidden ritual. The ritual was not a dramatic performance. It was not something you could see from the outside. It was an inward practice, deep attention, silence, and conscious observation. It resembled the ancient shamanic practices he studied in remote villages, where healers would sit for hours in absolute stillness, eyes half closed, minds entirely focused on the space of awareness itself. Their goal was to strip away the inner noise, the constant chatter of thoughts and fears, until the mind became like a perfectly still pool. In this stillness, Grinberg observed something extraordinary happening in their brains. Using EEG machines, he recorded the brainwaves of these shamans and found that the left and right hemispheres, normally slightly out of sync, began to fire in perfect rhythm. This hemispheric synchronization created patterns he had never seen in ordinary people. The brain became coherent, like a single unified instrument playing one pure note. Grinberg believed this state was the key. When the brain aligns in this way, it aligns with the informational lattice itself, and reality begins to respond differently. From a biological perspective, this coherence might have profound effects. Modern science now shows that when the mind is calm, the body produces less cortisol and more DHEA, a hormone linked to cellular repair. Telomerase, the enzyme that rebuilds telomerase, becomes more active. The immune system shifts from defense mode to regeneration mode, hunting down damaged cells and replacing them with healthy ones. Blood pressure lowers. Mitochondria, the energy factories inside cells, begin to produce energy more efficiently. In short, the body begins to act younger. Grinberg saw signs of this during his field research. Among the shamans he studied, age seemed to bend. Some of them were old by the calendar, yet showed astonishing vitality, sharp minds, quick reflexes, radiant energy. They could work all day without fatigue, enter deep states of meditation instantly, and recover from illness with surprising speed. They seemed to live in a rhythm beyond the normal ticking of time. Grinberg suspected their secret wasn't genetic luck or physical training. It was this hidden ritual, the disciplined cultivation of deep awareness that brought their minds into perfect coherence. To test this, he designed a series of experiments on ordinary people. He asked participants to sit quietly, eyes closed, and focus only on awareness itself. No thoughts, no judgments, just the raw experience of being present. As they practiced, their brain waves gradually shifted. The chaotic spikes of normal waking thought smoothed into long, slow waves of synchronization. Some participants described feeling as though their bodies dissolved, as if they were floating in pure space. When Grinberg measured their stress hormones afterward, he found they had dropped significantly. Their immune markers improved. Their bodies had entered a state of profound rest and repair. Even more astonishing were his brain-to-brain experiments. He placed pairs of participants in separate, soundproof rooms. One person was exposed to a sudden flash of light, while the other sat in darkness, unaware. In many pairs, the brain of the person in darkness showed a faint but measurable echo of the other's response at the exact same moment, as if their minds were linked across space. Grinberg saw this as further proof of the lattice. When two minds enter coherent states, they can connect through the field itself. This invisible connection, he believed, could also explain how shamans performed their healing rituals, merging their consciousness with another person's to guide their body back into balance. Perhaps the most famous of these shamans was Pachita, an elderly healer in Mexico City. Grinberg watched her perform what seemed like impossible surgeries. She would close her eyes, go into a trance, and then, without any tools, place her hands on a patient's body. Witnesses claimed she could remove diseased tissue and replace it with healthy tissue that appeared out of nowhere. The patients would heal rapidly, often with no scar. While mainstream science dismissed these events as folklore, Grinberg meticulously documented them, recording not just the outcomes, but the states of consciousness. Pachita entered before each act. Her brain waves showed the same hemispheric synchronization he had seen in other shamans, a perfect coherence, as though her mind had slipped fully into the lattice and rewritten the body from within. Grinberg believed this was not magic, but an extreme example of a natural ability hidden in all humans. He argued that when the mind becomes coherent enough, it can alter the biological patterns that define aging. Stress signals fade. Cellular damage is repaired faster than it accumulates. Time itself, at least inside the body, begins to lose its grip. The body stops racing toward decay and starts quietly rebuilding from within. Even without dramatic healing rituals, the same principles applied to his everyday participants. Those who practiced the hidden ritual of deep awareness not only reported more mental clarity and emotional calm, but also showed real physical changes, lower heart rates, improved sleep, quicker recovery from illness. Some even showed lengthening of their telomeres over time, a biological marker of slowed aging. Grinberg saw this as confirmation that the mind could indeed influence the cellular clock. The clearer and more coherent the mind became, the more the body seemed to defy the passage of time. To him, this was the true power of the human mind, not just to think, not just to imagine, but to shape the very reality in which our cells live and age. Where others saw aging as a purely mechanical process, Grinberg saw it as a conversation between consciousness and biology, a conversation we can learn to speak more wisely. Most people imagine that changing their biology must involve complicated treatments, expensive supplements, or extreme routines. But Jacobo Grinberg's insight was almost the opposite. He believed the most powerful shift begins with something profoundly simple, sitting completely still. No chants, no visualizations, no effort to force anything to happen. Just 10 minutes each day of pure, silent awareness. It may sound almost too simple to matter, yet in that simplicity lies its strength. To try this, you don't need a sacred space or any spiritual background. All you need is a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably with your spine upright, close your eyes and turn your attention inward. Instead of focusing on your thoughts, your breath or your body, focus on awareness itself, the silent space in which all thoughts appear. When thoughts come, don't fight them and don't follow them. Simply notice them as if they were clouds drifting across a clear sky. Then gently return your attention to that sky-like space of pure presence. Breathing slowly and steadily can help anchor you there. Inhale deeply, letting the air expand your chest. Then exhale softly, releasing any tension. The goal is not to control the breath, but to let it become smooth and calm on its own. Within a few minutes, you may begin to notice subtle shifts. Your heart rate slows, your muscles loosen, and the constant inner chatter starts to fade. This is the point where the brain begins slipping into the coherent rhythms Grinberg spoke of. It may feel like nothing dramatic is happening, but under the surface the body is already recalibrating. What makes this practice powerful is its regularity, not its difficulty. 10 minutes each day may not seem like much, yet over weeks it begins to reshape the patterns of the mind. Stress triggers lose their sharpness. Emotional storms pass more quickly. Your sense of time softens. Grinberg observed that this slow, quiet rewiring is how the mind learns to interact with the informational lattice in a cleaner, more coherent way. By focusing only on awareness, you are essentially tuning the instrument of the brain, and when that instrument is tuned, every cell in the body seems to respond. Of course, Grinberg never claimed this ritual was a magic cure-all. He was clear that the mind and the body are not separate, they influence each other constantly. This means that while mental coherence can support the body's repair systems, the physical foundations must be cared for as well. He emphasized that simple, consistent habits, sleep, nutrition, and movement create the biological stability that allows the ritual to work. Without proper rest, for example, the brain struggles to enter the synchronized patterns he described. Without adequate nutrients, cells cannot rebuild even if the stress hormones drop. Think of it like tending a garden. The ritual is the sunlight. It nourishes and awakens hidden growth, but only if the soil is healthy. Good sleep is like watering the soil. Balanced nutrition provides the minerals the plants need. Physical activity is the turning of the earth, keeping it oxygenated. When these basic habits are in place, the ritual acts as an amplifier, not a replacement. It doesn't override biology. It harmonizes with it. This distinction is crucial because some of Grinberg's critics argued that focusing solely on the mind could lead people to neglect their physical health. He warned against that misunderstanding himself. The ritual is not about rejecting the body or trying to transcend it. It's about aligning the mind so it can communicate more clearly with the body. In that clear communication, the body finds the signals it needs to slow its aging and repair itself more effectively. And yet, even with this holistic view, Grinberg knew his ideas would meet skepticism. Mainstream science has not officially validated his Syntergic theory or the claim that consciousness can directly slow cellular aging. There are no clinical trials proving that 10 minutes of silent awareness lengthens telomeres or reverses biological age. He acknowledged this and never presented his work as settled fact. Instead, he invited people to explore it with curiosity. That distinction, curiosity rather than blind belief, was central to his approach. He warned that the mind can trick itself easily and that belief without investigation can become another form of distortion. The placebo effect, he admitted, might explain some of the results he observed, but to him, this did not discredit the work. If belief alone could trigger the body's healing systems, that was simply more proof that perception holds hidden power. The key was to remain open while also questioning, to engage with the ritual as an experiment rather than a dogma. In many ways, this mindset mirrors the scientific method he was trained in. Observe without expectation, test without attachment, let the data speak rather than forcing it to fit a theory. Practicing the ritual with this spirit removes the pressure to achieve anything specific. You are not trying to stop aging or to force results. You are simply exploring what happens when the mind becomes silent and coherent, and letting the body respond in its own way. This cautious, open-ended approach also protects against another danger Grinberg often saw: over-belief. Some people, after glimpsing the unusual experiences that can arise during deep awareness, became convinced they had found a miracle cure or supernatural power. They stopped caring for their physical needs, withdrew from the world, and treated everyday life as an illusion to escape. Grinberg saw this as a trap. The goal of the ritual is not to flee reality, but to meet it more fully. It is not about escaping the body, but about listening to it more deeply. This is why he always returned to the larger meaning behind the practice. Aging, he believed, is not just a biological process. It is also emotional, mental, and even spiritual. People age faster when they feel disconnected from their lives, when they carry unresolved trauma, when they see themselves as powerless passengers being dragged through time. The ritual interrupts that pattern. By sitting in silence, focusing on pure awareness, you momentarily step out of the rush of thoughts that define your identity. You discover that beneath all of them, there is a still presence that does not age at all. This realization shifts everything. When you reconnect with that timeless awareness, daily stress loses its grip. You respond more calmly to challenges. Your relationships soften. You become less obsessed with the ticking clock and more attuned to the quality of each moment. This change in perception, Grinberg believed, is what allows the body to relax its frantic race against time. Instead of being dragged by the future, you start living from the present, and the cells inside you follow that lead. Even if the ritual does not literally stop cellular aging, its impact on how you experience life can be profound. It invites you to live consciously rather than mechanically, to approach each day not as something to survive, but as something to inhabit fully. The science may still be debated, but the subjective transformation is undeniable. People who practice this often describe feeling lighter, clearer, more awake, not just in mind but in their whole being. They become less afraid of aging, and paradoxically, this fearlessness seems to slow the very thing they feared. In the end, Grinberg's simple daily ritual is less about adding years to life than about adding life to years. It is not a fight against time, but a reconciliation with it. You are not trying to conquer nature, but to harmonize with it, to align the rhythms of your mind with the deeper rhythms of existence. When the mind stops struggling and becomes still, the body seems to remember how to care for itself. In that stillness, the boundary between mind and matter blurs, and for a few quiet moments each day, you may feel as if you've stepped outside the stream of time entirely. We've traveled through the mysterious life of Jacobo Grinberg, through the edges of science, into the silent rituals of ancient shamans, and deep inside the quiet power of our own minds. Now, as we reach the end of this journey, let's pause and remember what it all points to. At its heart, Grinberg's work whispered something both simple and radical, that the mind does not merely reflect reality. It helps create it. Every thought, every perception, every ripple of emotion sends subtle signals through the body, shaping how our cells function, how they repair, and how they age. When your mind is scattered, your biology feels the chaos. When your mind becomes still and coherent, your biology begins to follow that order. This isn't mystical wishful thinking. Even modern studies, though they often avoid Grinberg's bold theories, are slowly beginning to show how stress accelerates cellular aging while calm presence supports renewal. And this is where the ritual comes in. Just 10 minutes of silent awareness each day. Nothing complex, nothing flashy, simply sitting, breathing, and letting go. It's in that simplicity that its power hides. Because when you clear the noise, when you stop chasing thoughts, something else begins to awaken: the natural intelligence of your body, quietly repairing what stress has damaged. Telomeres, the tiny caps on your DNA strands that shorten with age, have been shown to lengthen in people who regularly meditate. Stress hormones drop, immune cells sharpen, inflammation fades. It's as if your body finally hears the message. It is safe to heal. So here is the invitation. Try this ritual for just 7 days. No pressure, no expectation. 10 minutes each day of sitting in silence and watching your awareness. Notice what happens. Maybe your mind resists at first. Maybe it wanders. That's okay. Every return to silence is like a small thread of healing being woven into your system. After 7 days, see how your body and mind respond. Do you feel a little calmer, a little clearer? Do your days feel a bit more spacious, as if time itself has slowed just enough for you to breathe again? Grinberg believed that what ages us the fastest is not time but forgetfulness, the way we forget the vast living field we are part of. This ritual is a way to remember. And maybe the real secret isn't to live longer, but to live fully awake. When you awaken your mind, you awaken your cells. When you shift your inner world, your outer world cannot help but shift with it. If you felt even a spark of something stir inside you during this video, hold on to it. That spark is the beginning of your own experiment, your own journey into the hidden capacities of your mind. And as you take that first small step, we'll be here walking beside you through the mystery. This is Awakened Synchronicity. If you're ready to keep exploring the unseen and awakening the forgotten power within you, then like this video, subscribe to our channel and join us. Because this is only the beginning, and the real transformation starts with you.